Hi, I'm Mike Yeomans, and I worked with Friends of the Children in Harlem this past summer. Basically, Friends of the Children is a nonprofit organization that tries to help out with the most at-risk children in the 5 boroughs of New York City. Here's a quote by JFK I found: "Children are the world's most valuable resource and its best hope for the future." And I think this quote and just like similar thoughts on this keep the Friends of the Children staff running throughout the summer and all the time when they work with the kids. And I think it's just a very inspirational quote. So about Friends of the Children, it caters to 112 at-risk children in the 5 boroughs of New York City. And how they determine who's the most at-risk children is we have a social worker on staff and 2 other staff members who go into 5 elementary schools in Harlem and the Bronx, and they determine which students are having the most difficulty at academics, social interactions, and just psychologically who are struggling with other children in the class. And then they offer forms to the students' parents, and after they sign up, then they're part of the program from kindergarten until 12th grade. And then once they're a part of the program, they they're met with a friend, they're paired with a friend, a mentor, and we call them friends to make sure it's not like this big divide between a teacher and the student like in the classroom setting. And it's more of a person who comes to your house and takes you on outings from kindergarten until 5th grade. And the outings can go from miniature golfing after school, or they'll go in and talk to counselors and teachers, and they'll help them out with their math homework, or just provide any source of just comfort and friendship with the children. And then once they get to 5th grade, they go to our Adolescent Program, and that's what I worked with this past summer. And the Adolescent Program is more voluntary for the students, because once they get to 6th grade, they can't really make it obligatory that the students come to every outing that we're on, because they have other commitments. They're going for internships when they get to high school level, or just like hang out with friends in the summer after school. So it becomes a more voluntary basis after middle school. And then, like I said, they provide opportunities for enrollment to better schools. So they'll contact better schools in the Harlem or in the Bronx or in Manhattan or the Queens, any borough, and try to get the students into schools that better fit them and cater to their interests. And also job and internship opportunities for high schoolers. And then there's also camps. They're part of Camp Fiver's main goal, which is a camp located in New York State, about 3 hours outside of New York City, which I had the opportunity to visit this past summer. They basically team up with about 5 different organizations in inner city New York and Philadelphia, and bring kids to have a taste of nature and learn about sustainability issues. And there's also basketball courts and pools and a lake, so it's not too much focused on sustainability, but just bringing them out of maybe some dreary conditions in the city that they're always accustomed to. And here's a quote that kind of stuck with me from one of the books that I read as part of the fellowship this past summer, Jonathan Kozel's Savage Inequalities. And he was talking to a businessman in Chicago, and he said, "No one expects these ghetto kids to go to college. Most of them are lucky if they're even literate. If we can teach them useful skills, get them to stay in school and graduate and maybe into jobs, we're giving them the most we can hope for." I think this is probably the most negative quote I've ever heard about inner city children, and which is really sad, as I've talked to friends on campus who harbor similar dispositions towards inner city students and just like the conditions of inner city. And I think it's very important to kind of look past that and maybe look at the funding that kind of informs these disparate conditions later in life. Like in Princeton and Summit, New Jersey, $8,000 per pupil is spent. This is in 89, 90, so this is a long time ago, but it's not been ameliorated completely since 90, even though it's 21 years later. And then in Patterson and Camden, about between $4,200 and $3,500 is spent per pupil. So I think this is obviously something to take into consideration when you're thinking about where people end up after elementary, middle school, high school. And then this is where I worked with the Adolescent Program this past summer. We have 56 mentees and only 4 friends, whereas in the youth program there's 56 mentees and 8 friends, because it's more like the outings are obligatory for the younger children, so you need more friends to cater to the more children. We offer emotional support as a caring friend, personal development, just being there whenever you have a problem. I mean, one of the instances of this was one of the girls was made fun of for having tight clothes because her parents couldn't afford getting her bigger clothes once she was growing older. So one of our friends took her downtown, bought her new clothes out of our funding. So I mean, it's just small things like that in conjunction with getting them into better schools as well, and just providing outings. Optional attendance to group outings. I'll explain what outings is a little bit more. So we take them to, actually I'll get into it a little bit later. Regents prep tutoring is every student in high school needs to complete Regents to get into the next level of high school. So we offer tutoring. It's basically the end of the year test, but it's statewide. And we provide tutoring for global, chemistry, biology, everything that they need to get into the next level of school. And then connections with Camp Fiverr that I mentioned before. Here's one of the examples of group outings. We went to New York Life and just taught them the importance of financial responsibility through playing the game of life, and also hearing from a speaker who so kindly took time out of her day to talk to our students. So that was a really great experience. And then we had the game of life as part of our, at 113th Street, the Friends Place, where they'd come after school, and every once in a while they'd say, oh, let's play life and talk about those issues again. I was like, all right, cool, that sounds good. So my dynamic role, I led group outings, and I am an environmental studies minor as well. I'm a philosophy major, and as an environmental studies minor, I find it very important to talk about sustainability issues as well. So one of the outings I led was I got food from a local farmer's market and then prepared a sheet of paper that had a graph that said where it came from and how many miles the ingredient traveled. And I mean, I'm not going to exactly teach them the importance of buying locally just then, but maybe cooking a vegetarian meal from local markets will just kind of be something that they think about in the future. I was a biology tutor to one student who needed to pass biology Regents prep to get into college for the next year. Mind you, I haven't taken biology since my sophomore year of high school, so I think she passed the test, which was amazing, judging by my tutoring abilities. But I think that was just really a vision into how much nonprofits struggle with finding appropriate tutors and giving the students the resources they need, because I mean, it is a nonprofit organization and they can use as much help as they can get. I assist in the office making calls and preparing reports, preparing reports to send out to potential donors in the future. Developed curriculum for Reaching Up to Manhood series, which is from the youth program to the adolescent program. We try to teach them about sex education, because you'd be surprised how many students are not up to par with that by the time they're in 6th grade. And also peer pressure and how to deal with those kind of things before we put them into the group setting that the adolescent program is more part of. And then just help friends and the office staff in any way possible. So we did a KPMG painting day. KPMG interns came from, KPMG is a big donor for us, and they came in and painted the Friends Place, and I just helped tape that up and kind of led that whole volunteer excursion. And then also I took one of our friends downtown to just prep her on how to, because she had an interview with a law firm to get a job there, and I just prepped her on interview stuff and just was there for her before and after. Here's me playing outside. It's also just about playing with the kids too. It's fun. The fellowship really, I mean, I came from a program where I was abroad all last year and we talked about social justice issues, but very from a kind of a microcosm of real life, because we kind of talked about these things while traveling around, and then coming back into the city and actually putting a face to it and seeing these children was really amazing. And then I read Savage Inequalities, which is a quote I got from before, and a couple other books about how to just teach and communicate different issues. Actually, Reaching Up for Manhood is where I got the idea for the series name. His name is Jeffrey Canada, who wrote the book, and he led a mentoring program in the Bronx, so I couldn't find a more appropriate book to read as part of the fellowship. Some frustrations I had as an intern was just my transient relationships, because they try to hire friends to work 3 to 4 years to provide stability in the children's life, and I was only there for 10 weeks, and by the time I was leaving, they said, oh, Mr. Mike, you're leaving already, I wanted you to be the new mentor. So that kind of hurt leaving, and just being a lack of title. I'd like to be a mentor, but I was just Mike the intern. Monetary incentives for group, when kids came to outings, they were provided with points, and the points led to monetary, you get gift cards to go to the Gap or whatever they wanted. And I just thought that was a good way to get them involved, but at the same time, I feel like it didn't actually work as well as it should have, because there's 56 mentees in the program, and maybe 10 to 12 would come on each outing, so obviously it wasn't enough incentive to bring them all the way. Inspiration, in the future I hope to work in Richmond community and get some in-class opportunities. I'm working with Overby Shepherd starting this Friday actually to get some class experience there, because Friends of the Children is not about going in class. And hopefully in the future I can work with environmental awareness curriculums in some sort of way, engaging youth. And just like community empowerment and sustainability kind of coalesce in very important ways. And that was my internship. Thank you everybody for being here tonight, and thank you Burhans family for your very appreciated monetary donation. Thank you.